I say good evening to all and welcome to the December 19th, 2018 regularly scheduled East Long Meadow Board of Library trustee meeting. I'm going to call this meeting to order at this point in time, which is approximately 6:08. I'm going to ask, starting with Melanie, if you would introduce yourself or start a roll call.
Melanie Meanheim.
Michael Gray.
Diane Tiago.
David Boucher.
Layla Johnston.
Okay. Due to the state laws, I must announce that this meeting is being both audio and video recorded for future broadcast at ALCAT. And our first order of business is, believe it or not, we need to vote to accept the minutes of the September 19th, 2018 meeting, because we have not met since that time.
Yeah.
So, just to inform those at home, we do have the opportunity to read this prior to the meeting. And I'm just checking with everybody. Did everybody have the opportunity, and did anybody see anything that needed to be edited or corrections or anything? I didn't either. So can I have a motion to accept the meetings of September 19th, 2018?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the meeting minutes for September 19th,
Do I have it?
2018.
Yeah, thanks, David. Is there a second?
I will second.
Okay, Michael. And is there any other further discussion with regards to it? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. All right. Once again, we have guest opportunity to address the board. We don't have any guests here, nor does it sound like anybody's coming through the door. So we'll move on to the director's report. Okay,
Thank you.
Layla.
The memorial bench that we discussed way back in September for Alex Blaze has been installed, and it does include a commemorative plaque. It's very nice. I want to thank DPW for helping us to install the bench. It's located near this entrance. And I would really like to thank Michelle Lemire and Darcy Kane in the Children's Department, who put together a series of very thoughtful activities that all library patrons could participate in. Some of you may have noticed different color painted rocks by the bench.
Yeah.
All of those rocks were painted that day and put there by Alex's family and friends in memory of him. And again, that was the Children's Department coordinating that, so I really want to thank them.
Yeah.
Diane was here. It was a lovely ceremony.
It was a lovely ceremony, very touching.
Yes,
too.
it was.
It was.
And also related to building maintenance, the IT department installed 2 additional wireless hotspots in order to boost our internet connection for public use. The library now has 4 hotspots located throughout the building. Under Public Services, a committee of library staff and I worked with Envision Marketing of East Long Meadow to redesign the library website. Updating and redesigning the library's online presence is part of our first year action plan, part of our strategic plan. And the URL for the new site remains eastlongmeadowlibrary.org. And so if anybody's interested after the meeting, we can open up the Chromebooks and take a look at the new site. It's been live for about a week or so now, and we've heard a lot of positive feedback. Early voting was held in the library community room on Monday, October 22nd, and it ran through Friday, November 2nd. We did rearrange a few of our programs and canceled a few others in order to accommodate the voting. Turnout was incredible. We had 2,305 people come through to participate in early voting held in the community room here. And so Tom Florence, the town clerk, was very excited about that. We did hear a lot of positive feedback about that, and particularly because the library was so well designed, which Diane can attest to, that we have 2 accessible parking spots near this door here, as well as another 2 accessible parking spots at these doors as well. And so people who are used to coming to town hall for the early voting were able still to park here, could get access to the building quickly, knew what they needed to do. So I think we'll probably do this again in the future. The East Longmeadow Rotary and Rotary International gave a generous donation for Playaway launch pads to our children's department. We've been able to purchase 16 new launch pads, with another 10 coming over the next 6 to 9 months. Patrons have been thrilled with the new updated selection that we have to offer, and our circulation over the past 2 months in the launch pad category has increased over 200%. We would like to especially thank Adele Hill, the Rotary Secretary. She coordinated this donation, and she has also come to read to our patrons during our weekly PJ Story Night. She was able to attend 5 of our PJ nights, and on October 20th, 2018, our staff was invited to join the East Longmeadow Rotary Day. And so we set up a booth for the day with the launch pads for viewing. The library was certified for our fiscal 20 year by meeting our requirements as stipulated by the Massachusetts Board of Library Commissioners. Requirements include, but are not limited to, being open a certain number of hours to serve the public, spending at least 15% of our budget on circulating materials for patron use, and providing library services at no charge to all members of the Commonwealth. We received our first half payment in November, and we should receive the second payment early spring. And just one final note, our area's legislative breakfast, where people can show their support for the library, advocate for libraries at the local level, with our representatives and senators, that's going to be scheduled for Friday, February 8th at 8 a.m. at the Storrs Library in Longmeadow. And that's my
Narrative.
condensed report. Yes.
Can I, if anybody has any comments or questions to ask Lila at this time with regards to the narrative, please feel free to do so. Because I have a,
Sure.
I have a question. I don't so much a question, but clarification for individuals. Explain what a hot spot is in the we have the library now has
Sure.
4 hot spots located throughout the building. So
Those
if you
are-
would clarify
yeah.
that.
Yeah, those are devices that provide internet connection. So we also circulate hotspots. They're about the size of a credit card. They connect to the internet and then transmit the internet to your phone or your Chromebook, whatever device it is that you have connectivity set up.
Wow.
So we have 3 of those that circulate for patrons, but then we also have them located throughout the building so that we can let patrons access the internet from anywhere.
Great. Great. The other item I just wanted to ask you, and I'm sure you've taken care of it, but I have to ask, with regards to the East Longmeadow Rotary and Rotary International, with their generous donation, and I know what those Playaway launch pads cost. Did we send them a nice thank
We
you?
did.
I'm sure we did, but I just wanted to follow up because that is a very generous donation, and
Yes,
I'm
we did.
sure the children's department are very happy to receive that.
Yeah, the children's department sent an acknowledgement. They're very good about that.
Good,
They're
good.
also that's also kind of, because we do rely so much on the generosity of donors, particularly for summer reading prizes and
Yep.
things like that. They're very good about acknowledging those generous donations.
Wonderful. I assumed so, but I just had to follow
Sure.
up on that. Okay, I'm done with my questions. Does anybody have anything else you might want to ask Layla? And it might not even be regards to the narrative at this moment. If you had any questions about the requirements for the library commissioners, the MBLC, and how that all works. At the last meeting, I had signed off on that paperwork. And so this is great that a couple months later that we know that we certainly qualify. No problems. Ace that one, so
Yeah.
that's great. Very happy. All right, Leila, I'm sorry to interrupt,
that's
but
fine.
if you continue on with our finances.
Sure. So I did put together a condensed financial report. If you have any, for example, if you look at the state aid, it does reflect that first partial payment that we received. And in case anybody's curious, we always use that to pay for our CW Mars membership. That's what, if you place a hold on a book here and we don't have it, but Longmeadow does, we send that through delivery. You can get it the next day. It's just an example of one of the unique sharing arrangements that we have through CW Mars, and it's to benefit all of our patrons who we care about. And so we can see we're right on track with mid-year expenditures.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions about that, I'm more than happy to answer.
No, I figured we were 6 months into the fiscal year
Yeah.
and so forth, and I think it's great. Once again, we're within our expended versus appropriated, so that's great. I was hoping, Leila, if you wouldn't mind explaining with regard to the state aid to public libraries and how it's paid. You don't receive all of it, the entire amount of the aid at one time. It's one in the fall, one in
Right.
the spring. So
That's split into two payments in order to ensure that revenues that have been projected are actually revenues that are collected by the Commonwealth. And so in the past, it has happened that the revenue has been shortfalled, and so aid had to be adjusted. Yes. So that's why you receive it in two different disbursements, so that in case there's a sudden change in the outlook for the Commonwealth's revenues, they might have to revise those awards.
never goes up, huh?
No, unfortunately, I've never heard of it being revised upward.
Sorry, couldn't help it. No such luck. But
But yeah, so we are expecting an additional half payment, and as soon as we get that in, I'll report that as well.
okay, great. Any questions or comments? Okay, so once again, I need a motion to accept the director's narrative report as well as the financial report that she's provided us.
I can make a motion to accept the director's report for the narrative and the financial as of December 19th.
And I will second.
You're gonna second, okay, Mike. Okay, is there any further discussion? No? All right, then all in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, unanimous. This is a tough group. Great. All right, new business. Okay. Gift and donation policy. And what Leila did was she pulled out from our collection development policy, like this section, to make it itself into its own, so it's easy for patrons to find it. You know, if they go to our website and they want to look up a policy and, and so forth, it's a lot easier to find it under the title of, gift and donation policy rather than collection development policy, So, anyways, I thought it was great that she picked up on that, and everybody has a draft. Okay. Is there any discussion about the draft? Is there any discussion about, the policy itself, or how it originated, or?
Are all these policies on the website, or?
The ones that have been approved are, and then the ones that we're currently working on, we'll work through them until they're finalized and approved, and then we'll post them. Yeah.
So, now, what happened, just as added information, Layla gave us 3 links that we could go to so we could see what other libraries have written up in their policies. And obviously, Springfield's was really quite detailed. I thought,
I noticed that too.
But they've got a much bigger, unit to. It can't even call it a unit. I mean,
Yeah.
it's huge in comparison to us. We have one library, one town, and Springfield's got all these branches all over the
It's always
place. So-
interesting too when you look at just the way the policies are tailored to their local needs.
Yeah.
And I find it fascinating. I guess that's the library nerd in me. But just the wide range even of, you think, oh, gift policy, not a big deal. But once you start looking at the links, you're like, wow, some of these are really different.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I thought the draft, which incorporates a lot of Wilbraham's draft,
Yeah.
I thought would meet our needs. And also I was discussing it with a member of the staff, and she questioned, and I thought this was a good question, and I'll put it to all of you. Do we want to include the phrase in the very first section where it says, in general, the East Long Meadow Public Library welcomes gifts of books, materials, equipment, property of any kind, and money? She was wondering, do we want to really include that phrase, property of any kind? You never know what people are going to
I know.
bring out of their attic.
Right.
And I said, that's a great question, and I will bring that to the board meeting, so we can discuss that a little bit if you would like. Materials, equipment, that seems to be acceptable. We do accept things like donated DVDs and things like that people don't have a desire for anymore.
Property of any kind leaves it pretty wide open.
It does.
You might say subject to staff approval or something like that in parentheses or.
Yep, yeah, we do
Before
have,
they
the
bring
next
anything
thing
in.
that it has to be, we can refuse any gift.
Yeah, the library.
But we could, we can either keep that in, we can strike that phrase. I thought that was a good point that she brought up.
Does it happen very often that you get something weird and they just go, we'll give you this and you can sell it for whatever you want?
Occasionally people do come in with things that in their mind are very valuable and precious, but may or may not be something that a public library can really, they have to be willing to relinquish control. And some people think that a donation of, we'll say like a magnificent sculpture, for example, would be something that all of the public can enjoy, and et cetera, et cetera. But for the library, we might be taking on a new cost if we accepted that because of insurance restrictions. Things like that you may not.
Or to upkeep it.
Right. Yeah, or where would be the best place to really display it. That I think would be an example of property of any kind. Like, do we really want this giant Venus de Milo
Something,
replica?
yes.
Or
And where do we put it?
right. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
stuffed moose head.
And I can't store anything else at my house.
No,
That's
Melody
right.
has all of our outdoor games in her basement.
She's so good. But, well, I really do think that it really opens up
It does.
too big an avenue, shall we say, and it couldn't be interpreted, by individuals differently. Property of any kind.
Do you have experience here at like just liquidating things to raise, just to sell it?
Ordinarily, we would ask the friends to do that. Because with us being a town department, there are all kinds of rules and restrictions. We'd have to take it to auction and this kind of thing. And so ordinarily, our friends handle all of that kind of fundraising, and they handle the book sale, which is a major source of support for our summer programs.
And didn't we handle prints one year? I
Probably.
What do you mean?
thought? We had the prints here.
Oh,
Pictures.
Oh,
Yeah, the art.
we had art.
It was
Mhm.
artwork.
Yeah, we had
It was
art
prints,
and
it was framed very
they
nicely.
were framed and you could borrow
Beautiful.
them.
Yes.
And
I remember Edward
you
Hopper
know,
was
you
one of
never
them.
knew what was going to be above my, you know, the fireplace in my house because I liked it so much that I think we got to have them for about a month or so. And brought it back, and then I had to go through a whole bunch more. But what happened was, you know, they get nicked and dinged, and the
That's
frames were kind of,
Right.
and they did. Was it? They did a couple years ago where they were, you know, for sale, and sold them because just unable to like maintain,
Yeah.
you know. And I think also, I mean, you know, it also was another item that staff would have to keep track of
Right.
for in, out, in, you know, and so forth. So it was just same type of loan, borrow, and so forth situation. So anyways, we no longer have that
Right.
available. And, but it was nice while it was going. So I don't know. I don't know. So I guess I'm looking to you, Layla, at this
Sure.
point. I you know, and so Layla, how do you think the language? How do you think the language of
The property of any kind phrase?
Any kind?
I would be comfortable removing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
on the safe side.
Yep.
Yeah.
It still gives you the opportunity to just, you know, if some strange opportunity comes in, you could just make an exception and go, this is really special, we could probably
Right.
get a lot of money for this, so we're gonna give it to Melanie to sell.
Thank you.
Melanie to put in her basement.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
But no, I would be definitely comfortable striking that phrase.
And you know that if they do have something, they're always going to ask first
Correct.
before they
Well,
bring
sometimes-
something here, like a
sometimes
tractor
they
or
show up.
something.
But yeah, so the next section is just about, again, relinquishing ownership and that the gift is considered final and there are no restrictions. That's pretty important because to maintain a healthy collection, if we do accept a book, we may eventually need to remove that book from the collection, particularly medical. That's always my favorite example. The medical advice changes so frequently and is updated so often that a book from even 3 years ago may have outdated diet advice or things like that. So have to be able to refresh the collection with the most up-to-date cookbooks too are another good example. That do you really want that microwave bacon cooking 101 cookbook anymore in your collection? You know, that was the thing in the 80s. But so anyway, if we do receive a gift of books that we add to the collection, we definitely circulate them as long as they're still current and have popular demand, but then we may then need to remove them. And so then again, the next section, so that's kind of just the first general guidelines. And then the next section is specifically about monetary donations. And that's that the library has a gift account that it is administered through the town. We can receive unrestricted gifts, and we're always very appreciative of those. Patrons can request that if we use the gift to purchase books, we can add book plates in memoriam, in honor, in congratulations, however they would like. And those book plates are then inserted into those books. And we do also encourage donations to the Friends. And that's here under the money section as well. Explains that the Friends are a registered 501c3 charitable organization. All donations to both the library itself and the Friends are tax deductible. The next section is specifically about the condition that we would need donations to be in. We would request that books or materials be in good condition and published within the last 5 years. With the understanding that, if you do bring us a box of donations, we are very, very appreciative. If it's something that we already have copies of in the collection, we're most likely going to give it to our Friends of the Library organization, who then will sell it at a very reduced bargain price to the public. We're asking, because we do have such limited storage, that's why Melanie's basement is our off-site storage facility. We do request that patrons just bring one box of books at a time. That enables us to then sort the materials and make sure that we don't have a backlog. Valuation, the library itself is not allowed, this is an IRS rule, we are not allowed to provide the monetary value of something. We can give you a blank form just acknowledging that the library received the gift, and then the individual would value it on their own or however they choose to go about that. And then again, the future disposition of gifts. We cannot guarantee any gift will be part of the collection permanently. In the case of things like furniture, if we had, let's say a very generous patron wants to replace these conference room chairs, we would first then offer the old chairs to all town departments. That's a rule of the organization, and then after that we'll follow other state guidelines to how we would dispose of those items. And that's what I've got for the draft. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer. Any discussion?
I did read all three drafts that you sent from the three different libraries. I agree that the one that we kind of went off was the one that I liked the best. That was what I had to note.
Anyone else?
And do we have memorial gifts on here? I know one of the libraries had something written, memorial gifts. I was curious what that exactly meant, and do we have that one?
When I was a director in Illinois, they had a memorial gift program at that institution. And different libraries do it differently, but what that particular institution did is that, let's say that someone passes away and they want to, rather than have flowers or something like that, they would like to have a donation made to the library. And so we would then, we had a form that the individual could fill out. They would fill out the form stipulating how they would like the book plate to be typed up. If they chose books, some people chose larger donations that would then go to things like furniture or other, computers, other library needs. And then they would be acknowledged on our, it's similar to our giving wall that we have here. Yeah. I guess we have like an informal memorial program. We do have quite a few people who will, direct a donation to the library and ask that I select books in that person's honor, and we do book plates and that kind of thing. Diane has participated in that in the past. And
Well, here's my thought. Should we put this this draft info on it to make it a policy, provided that one piece of property of any kind be removed, and we can approve this policy tonight?
At least we'll have it in place.
It'll
and then we
be
can
in
make
place.
changes accordingly.
Right.
Yeah.
That sounds efficient to me.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm just, well, there's no, if we're all in agreement
Yeah.
that once that is just taken out and we'll accept the policy as written, we don't have to table it for
Right.
another meeting.
Right.
Okay.
So we'll omit the
Yep.
yes, I
four
will
words,
remove
and
that.
then that will be done.
Leila takes that out, and I can have an actual motion to accept the gift and donation policy with the edit of property of any kind in the first paragraph.
Okay, I'd
removed.
like to make motion for the gift and donation policy with having those 4 words omitted.
Okay,
And I would like to second that
Okay.
motion.
all right. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
And our next new business, I asked Melanie to go digging in her files and, because we never, were able to discuss her, went to a trustee training back in October. So I wanted to hear, what you found or learned or,
Okay, well, when I attended the trustee orientation, it was in Sunderland at the public library there. It was held on October 2nd and at 6 p.m. I felt the training was excellent. It went by very fast. They did provide us with a packet of information, which later on what I'll do is I'll let you have it, Michael, and then we can pass it around, and just circulate this among the trustees. So there were 3 presenters. It was Liz Babbitt, who's the state aid specialist, Maura Didi, who's the library advisory specialist, and Rob Favini, head of library advisory and development. So what they spoke about, these sessions are basically for new library trustees, seasoned board members, and library directors. Trustee orientations are run by those 3 people, which I just spoke about, and each session covered board responsibilities, library funding and state aid, state laws with relevance to libraries, and how to be effective advocate for libraries. At the end, they had questions and answers. They spoke, I kind of made a lot of notes, so I'm just going to go through it very quickly for you. So they presented this information with a PowerPoint presentation. They spoke about advocacy and to be seen and be heard and be supportive. They discussed state aid, open meeting law, and public record keeping. They did speak very briefly about town charters and how the structure of your town does change when you have a town manager, just for responsibilities. They spoke about open meeting law resources. If you have any questions, it is okay for any of us to call the Attorney General Office, division of any questions for the open government. I have all that information in here, and all of you are, of course, free to call them with any questions. They discussed briefly on how electronic devices are getting in the way. That was kind of an interesting, it was a very brief conversation. So they were talking about cell phones at meetings, texting, and commenting online. It was very brief. I didn't get a whole lot of hearing everybody's experiences on their particular boards with that. So I guess the thing that intrigued me was commenting online. So what's being said. They did speak, people who attended, like myself, they spoke about quorum carpooling. Is it okay? A lot of trustees, some of them will go to dinner together or just carpool somewhere that they were all, whether it be a legislative breakfast or wherever. And some of them were asking questions on, okay, is it okay that we did this, 2 months ago? Is it okay that we were all in the car and we had a quorum? Yes, it is okay. They can, they reassured you, it's okay. You just can't talk about all the library like you would here, and you cannot make any decisions in the car. It's very simple, very simple. But could we all, if we had a quorum, go in a car and, go out to breakfast together and pay everybody paid for themselves? Of course we can. So they did make that clear, and a lot of people there were asking that question. Simple questions. There were a lot of just differences in opinions. Should we do that? it is okay.
I think
As
we
long
should.
as you.
Breakfast Friday.
So yes, I will okay that. I concur. Okay, so they spoke about transparency, ethics and conflict of interest. They did speak about trustees must leave the day-to-day operations all up to the director. They basically said, stay in your lane, and they did make that clear. So it was interesting, just the different points that they were trying to, get through. I'm sure from what they've heard, whether it be just difference of opinions or friends versus trustees versus library director. But I thought the presentation was excellent. They did provide us with trustee resources. I have them here. Bob Favini, who spoke, he can print out literature for us to pass out at the National Night Out. So I think we should make note of that.
Great.
It was Bob Favini, I think that's how you say it. At the question and answer time at the end of the presentation, one person had a question, and they were asking, what is the number one complaint that library directors have of the trustees? And the three people speaking for the presenters basically said that the trustees, I gotta word this,
Quote unquote.
quote unquote. The trustees micromanage sometimes too much, but these are from certain directors, Layla, hopefully. But I think we do a pretty good job here. But that's what they're saying, that's one small complaint that library directors do have with the trustees, that trustees try to micromanage. And I don't think we have that problem here. I think we have a darn good board, and I think we're good. So that was that.
We'll talk with Layla later.
Yeah. Well,
Like, oh, great, I'm on camera.
Let it spill.
but I think attending the trustee orientation, it was a healthy way to stay informed. It was a nice refresher. It's good to have a face and a name, an email address, a contact, and a phone number. And I have that all here. I don't think I forgot anything. They did pass out new trustee handbooks. I think Michael has the same one.
I have
Maybe this is
updated
the new
versions
one.
of those I can give to everybody.
Yeah.
So I have that here. And one, I'll be really quick. Part of this packet was the actual PowerPoint presentation I have on paper. I'll show you that later. You can take that home. And they did pass out a sample memo, understanding between Friends and libraries. So, the library agrees to, the Friends agrees to. So this I think we should all read. And on the back, it's just about the working together, the responsibilities. Library director, library board, and friends. This is very interesting information.
Yeah.
However, they did say that a lot of things overlap. Sometimes it's gray area and it's okay. A lot of it still needs to be tweaked, I think.
Sure.
But it's good information. It's good to have. Names, phone numbers, everything's in here. If we ever have any questions, they're here to support us and Layla. That's great.
Great.
Good.
It was good to go. I think
thank you.
anybody who is a trustee or a board on any town, it's important to go to these. And
I have one of those from the
Yes.
Connecticut State Library.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
I'm glad you
you're
went.
welcome.
I'm
It
glad
was
you
Yeah.
found it
good. It
helpful.
was good. But you missed
I'd have
it.
gone with you.
Well, they did serve lobster and prime rib later. So you missed it.
Really?
No. They did serve.
Doritos and
They did serve. They had pastries and apple cider. So it was a comforting New England scene.
October.
It's good.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent. Back to the agenda. We're at old business, and you received the bulletin board policy, community bulletin boards and literature racks policy. This is, and we discussed the draft before, and is there any questions, comments, anything that as you were reading it came to mind, or do you feel that this is ready to put into action? anything?
I think it's
I
ready.
think it's ready, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, well done.
The wording, okay.
Did
Great.
we date it?
Well,
It's on the back.
Yep.
all right. So I need a motion to accept the community bulletin board and literature racks policy.
I will,
Okay.
for the first time tonight, make a motion that we accept the bulletin board and literature rack policy.
I'll second that.
Okay, David, effective. Any other comments? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? There you go. Wow.
Now, I don't have an opportunity to micromanage the bulletin board policy.
That would have been a great example of what we shouldn't do.
Exactly.
That's good, we can laugh about it.
All right, next item is Library Friends News. And once again, I'm going to call upon Melanie because she's our
Spokesperson for a
yes,
little while.
yeah.
Okay, so the Holiday Basket fundraiser ran from November 28th until today, December 19th. The winners of these baskets have been notified, and I think there's still about 4 or 5 still out there that need to be.
I think she just called. Did she just call today? I think it was pretty.
Andrea was here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was she? Okay. So winners will be notified or have been today. Second point is at the request of the technology coordinator, who is Sharon Bellanoy, the Friends approved the funding of video game console, which is called the Nintendo Switch, along with controllers and video games. So that was approved. The goal is to establish an ongoing video game program as an after-school teen activity. So eventually the intentions is to develop programming for all ages using the Nintendo Switch. That's for teens. My next point was when we initially had museum passes here at the library years ago, they were originally intended only for the Friends. So if you were a member of the Friends, you could take out the museum passes. So now the Friends voted to eliminate that requirement where it's only optional for the Friends members. So now all library patrons, that is one of the perks of just having your library card. So it blanket covers everyone. It's going to make life easier for staff, which is very important, in making them available to all library patrons again. So the passes include the Eric Carle, the Norman Rockwell, Forest Zoo Park, Wistariahurst, and the Vintage Radio and Communications Museum, which is in Connecticut. So that, just to name a
Do
few.
you mind if I add something here real
Sure.
quick? Just as kind of a notice or informative for anybody who may be watching, the Springfield Museums are our most popular passes. And the Springfield Museums have decided on their own to discontinue the library pass program for all area libraries. So quite a few other directors are very disappointed in this because it is such a high demand museum pass, particularly for people who live in Palmer or other locations and don't have the opportunity to visit larger areas that have museums as often. So if anybody is going to be disappointed by this, we do apologize. However, this was a decision made by the Springfield Museums. So if anybody wanted to contact them, they're more than welcome. So
My understanding, just as another PS
Yeah.
kind of thing, is they will honor the passes and, for that 1 year period
Right.
that's started previously and will end I don't know which month in 2019.
yeah,
But they will honor the use of the passes until it expires, and the Friends won't be able to gift it.
Right.
So,
So again, please don't be upset with the Friends or with the library. We did not choose to eliminate this very, very popular pass. This was a decision made by the museums.
Okay. Okay, moving forward. Erica Petrosky is now the liaison between the library staff and the Friends. So Erica is attending the Friends meetings, which is wonderful. And the Friends did not meet in December. They will have their next meeting on Monday, January 7th at 7 p.m. right here at the library.
Great.
And that's all I have.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other business we need to address at this time? No? No? All right. Well, then, our next meeting will take place Wednesday, January 16th. I can't believe I'm saying this already. 2019 at 6 p.m. right here. And so I need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
And are all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.